Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? Normally, this would have been out a few days ago, but as you might have saw in my, I don't know what I'm pointing down there. As you might have saw in my community link, yeah, I've had the lurgy, I had the dreaded COVID, and that's put me on my back for a while. But we're back now, and better late than never. But thanks everybody for the really nice messages in there. It's been a bit of a struggle, but we're back now. We'll do it today instead. What day is it today? Thursday. I've lost track of the days. Yeah, Thursday. So I'll do this for last week's films, and Sunday I'll do it for this week's. But I haven't, considering I've been laid up not doing much, I haven't watched a lot. I just haven't felt like, sometimes you don't even want to watch films. I've been like that. But anyway, yeah, we watched last week 9 films, and some of them have been a little while ago, so my memory might be fading, and coupled with not being the best, just bear with me. We'll see how it goes anyway. We'll give it a go. We'll give it a whirl. So, yeah, let's roll the credits and we'll get into it. Right, I kicked off last week with Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, a rewatch from 1953, directed by the great Howard Hawks, Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell, who I always get mixed up with Jane Mansfield, and I don't know why. They're like chalk and cheese, actress-wise. One's a blonde, one's a brunette, but I just always do it. Charles Coburn, love Charles Coburn. Elliot Red. Yeah, this is, well, it's Howard Hawks. It's going to be a decent film. It's about these two girls, Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe, and they work as cabaret singers, and both really, really good friends, but both totally different characters. Monroe's character, Lorelei, she out and out gold digger. Her ambition in life is to meet a rich man, doesn't matter what he looks like, marry him and live off his money. Whereas Jane Russell is more your traditional homely type gal who just wants to fall in love, meet the right person, whether they're rich or poor, and raise a family. So Monroe she's engaged to this rich guy, and he is a drip, but he worships the ground she walks on, and she's going on a cruise with Jane Russell, and the father, rightly, who played by Charles Coburn, the father of the fiance, rightly knows what's going on, so he hires a private detective to go on this cruise with Russell and Marilyn Monroe to keep an eye on Monroe and get any evidence that she's philandering with another rich guy. Yeah, really enjoyable. Brilliant dialogue. It's going to be brilliant dialogue from Howard Hawks. Is maybe one of the kings of screwball comedies when you look at My Girl, His Girl Friday, Bringing Up Babies, stuff like that. Yeah, just quick, witty banter. The exchanges between the two girls are fantastic. The girls do some numbers. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. They're from that film. Jane Russell's character, she ends up falling for the private investigator, but doesn't know he's a private investigator and keeping an eye on her friend. Yeah, really enjoyable stuff. Recommend it. They're both two beautiful ladies back in the day. You can see why people were head over heels for Monroe, because she's absolutely charming. Yeah, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Next up, I went for Fort Apache, 1948. The brilliant John Ford. John Wayne stars of this. Henry Fonda, Shirley Temple. Now, Shirley Temple, that surprised me. I'd never seen a Shirley Temple film before, and obviously I'd heard of her, but knew she was this child actress, so I was quite surprised when she turned up all grown up. Pedro Armendáriz, Ward Bond, Victor McLaughlin, Dick Foran, great cast, and what a brilliant Western this was. I thought I'd seen it before, but it was all new to me, so I don't think I had. I think I got it mixed up with something else. Now, I watched Little Big Man last week and said, no, though I don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but I didn't like it as much as other people who'd watched it recently. And I tried to explain, but I sort of like fumbled the ball a bit with it. I know that's not like me. But having watched this in itself is an epitome of my sort of Western. It's sparkling. The direction, the scenery, the chatting between the cowboys in it, the banter, the antagonism between the sets of lads is everything I just absolutely love in a Western. And this is now one of my favourites. I can't believe I hadn't seen it before. It's all about Henry Fonda's character. He's this general. Now, I'm pretty sure it's based on General Custer. He isn't called General Custer. I can't remember his name on it now. But I'm pretty sure that's what they're aiming for without calling him Custer. And he's this ambitious general who gets sent to this backwater fort in Fort Apache. That captain there is John Wayne. And Fonda, he wants to do everything his way. He looks at the fort as a bit of a down beneath on him, this quiet fort that they've been sent there for is to make sure the Apaches are in line, because he thinks he's destined for far greater things than that, and doesn't know anything about the Apaches, or the Apache people won't take any advice from Wayne or any other guys that have been there for years, that know the people, that know how to deal with the people, know how to talk to them. And all that Fonda's character ends up antagonising them and making the situation a hell of a lot worse. Yeah, it's a great Western, and particularly the side characters, there's 3 Irish corporals and the banter they have between them. At one point, they're tasked with getting rid of this sort of like whiskey from this store that's not quite kosher, and instead of getting rid of it, they drink it and have a great time and get stripped of their stripes. The dialogue between them guys, it's I'm not going to say it's almost Tarantino like, because obviously words were a lot different from that day to that day, but you can see sort of like the influence that later directors like Tarantino take from films like this, which actually Tarantino, he doesn't like John Ford. He always slags John Ford off for mainly for racism reasons. Starting with, like, in 1915, the D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation film. And now this is a horrible film. This film portrays black people as lazy and drunkards, and it portrayed the Ku Klux Klan as these almost sort of like Avengers type superhero gang. Yeah, it's proper hard, but it's a piece of film history. And John Ford in 1915, there's like shots of the Ku Klux Klan like riding about and setting things on fire and that. And John Ford was one of the actors who played the Ku Klux Klan. And there's a scene in here, actually, in Birth of a Nation, where they're riding down the street, the Ku Klux Klan, and the guy is trying to see out of his mask, and that inspired Tarantino to do that scene in Django Unchained where their hoods don't fit and they can't see out of them. And also, pretty much, Tarantino always claims that John Ford's films always portrayed the Native American Indians as mindless killers with no personality, just set there for targets for white men, for the cowboys to look good. But personally, I think it's difficult judging people
from generations ago in today's standards, different times, and yeah, I'm not saying give them a pass or anything like that, but you've just got to remember that times were different. So yeah, but you can see how the likes of Tarantino, although he might claim and distance himself from Ford, how he'll lead on his artistry and borrow bits of his films. There's one scene in Kill Bill that's just taken straight out of The Searchers. So there's a bit of double standards there, in my opinion, on Tarantino, but that's up to him, isn't it? Yeah, Fort Apache, great Western, and one I've thoroughly enjoyed. Might even be in my top 10 Westerns now, it's that good. Yeah, give that a watch if you haven't seen it. Next up, and don't say I'm mixing up a bit, The Witches of Eastwick, 1987, directed by George Miller, Jack Nicholson, Cher, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, Veronica Cartwright, Richard Jenkins. Now, this is a film I had seen before, many moon ago, and I think it was cheap on Amazon recently, so I thought I'd grab a copy and give it a rewatch, and this wasn't for me. It wasn't for me at all. I found it quite dull, to be honest. It's about this guy rolls into town, Derek Van Horn or something like that is the character's name. Jack Nicholson. No, don't get me wrong, he does play it well as this guy. I think he's supposed to be the devil. Oh God, I've lost interest in it. Who casts a spell on the three ladies and turns them into witches and command them and do whatever he want with, have romps and orgies with them and God knows what else galore. And it does sound an interesting premise, but it just didn't do anything for me whatsoever. I found it pretty boring, to be honest. I think the best part about I think Veronica Cartwright, I think she's smashing Veronica Cartwright. I think really underrated actress from that time. The other lady in Alien that wasn't Ripley. Yeah, proper struggle with it and finding anything else to say about it. And considering the three ladies were supposed to be witches, there didn't seem to be much witchcraftiness about it. Yeah, Nicholson was great. Nicholson's great in everything, but apart from that, it's about as shallow as a puddle, in my opinion. Yeah, not a fan of that one. The Witches of Eastwick. Next up, Joker. Next up from 2019. God, I'm easily sidetracked. The Joker from Todd Phillips, starring obviously Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz. What sort of name is Zazie Beetz? Francis Conroy, Shea Wyam, Bill Camp. A rewatch. You can't stop doing that now. Yeah, a rewatch of The Joker. Now, first time I watched this, I thought it was terrible, and everybody was saying I was wrong, which I have been wrong before once, or was I mistaken? Yeah, I thought it was terrible, and on a rewatch, it's a lot better than I thought it was. I still don't hold it in really high esteem, but it's watchable. Phoenix is very good in it, of course, but like Nicholson in the previous film, I don't think there's been a bad Phoenix performance in a film. De Niro, you know what you're getting. Yeah, it does lean heavily on Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but as I was talking about Tarantino and Fort Apache and that, they do that, don't they? All about Arthur's character. Arthur, was it Fleck? I should think more stuff down. And his descent into madness, which ultimately leads to murder. His stint on the Maury, whatever his name, show, and him shooting. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling the hell out of this. He shoots Robert De Niro dead on stage, and then gets sent to Arkham in a nutshell. A character study.
It's all right. It's all right. I still don't think it's a brilliant film, but it's better than I thought it was. And controversially, I'm sorry, I like Joker 2 better than this. I know a lot of people hate it, but it just did something for me. I loved it. And I do believe that Joker 2 is one of them films that's going to become a cult classic. And if I'm still here when people are talking about it, I'll say I told you so. Yeah, Joker, it's all right. It's a decent film. It's better than I thought. Next up, Never Let Go from 2024. God, that's a recent watch from me. Uh, Directed by Alexandra Asia, who I think I'd only seen Crawl before this, which I wasn't a big fan of. It's mainly just three characters: Halle Berry and her two kids, played by Anthony B. Jenkins and Percy Daggs the Fourth. I mean, Percy Daggs the First would have been some guy to spawn three successors to the Percy Daggs name. Yeah, this actually it was a decent little horror thriller. This is all about Halle Berry and her two kids. They grow up in this wooden house in the middle of nowhere, and every time they leave the house, they have to tie themselves to ropes attached to this house that is supposed to have magical properties to ward evil away. And they can't leave the house without being attached to the house, so they tie themselves up every time they leave the house on a big rope, or something will get them. And it's supposed to be some events happen to the world, and they're the only two left, or something. And yeah, like I say, if they go out without the ropes on, they're going to get killed. Hence the title, Never Let Go. And you never quite sure for ages whether there is something evil going on, or Halle Berry, the mum, is some sort of mad psycho bitch, and she thinks it's true, but it's a load of crap, and the world's going on fully functioning as it should be, because this house they're living in is like in the middle of nowhere in backwater. Yeah, it's all right. It's a, like I say, decent little thriller. I think I got it in a charity shop for £1 or so, as it is a very new film. I picked it up. Yeah, recommended. Give it a watch. It's nothing to write home about. Nothing that you're going to rush out on for me to upgrade on Blu-ray. Not that I even know that there is a Blu-ray. It's decent. Give it a go. Right, next up, The Smallest Show on Earth. 1957, dear old Basil Dearden as the director, starring Bill Travers, Virginia McKenna, probably the best Virginia McKenna performance I've seen. She's really sparkling in this. Margaret Rutherford, Peter Sellers, Bernard Miles, Leslie Phillips, Sid James. Yeah, good old British cast of British actors, and a lovely little film. That sounds a bit condescending, doesn't it? Say a lovely little film, but yeah, that's exactly what it was. This is all about Bill Travers. He's married to Virginia McKenna, and I love their dynamic, the relationship between them, the banter they have between them. Yeah, like I say, I think it's my favourite McKenna performance I've seen from her. She was bright as a button and actually quite adorable in it. And Bill Travers gets noticed that he's inherited something from an uncle that he didn't even know existed. So he has to travel to this backwater town with his wife to find out what it is. And when he gets there, he discovers that he's inherited this really old, run-down cinema that is manned by three people. We've got Margaret Rutherford, who sort of like collects the money on the door and been there all her life. Peter Sellers, who's the projectionist, and his equipment has come out the ark, and only Peter Sellers knows how to work the projections, because it takes a hammer and a bang in the right place to make it work and stuff like that. And Bernard Miles, who the caretaker guy who goes around fixing everything. Not like he looks like he's fixed anything in years. And at first they think that they're just going to sell it on, but then another guy, a rival cinema who has a rival cinema in the town, comes in and tries to basically lowball them on a price for it because he just wants the building, knock it down, and use it as a car park for his existing cinema. So Travers and McKenna decide that they'll do it up and give it a go and see, make it a viable concern. Yeah, just a dear British comedy. The thing, you know, as soon as it starts up, what you're going to get, but that takes nothing away from it because it's just a nice, easy watch and a joyful unfolding before the eyes. Leslie Phillips, he's good as their sort of solicitors, ding dong. Sid James only in it for one scene as the father of the is an angry father of this girl they've taken on this to take the tickets who gets herself knocked up. But his scene was very good. Yeah, good film. Not my favourite Basil Dearden film, but it was good nonetheless. Yeah, the smallest show on earth. Right, next up from 2017, A Prayer Before Dawn, directed by Jean-Stéphane Serfer and starring Joe Cole. Now, this film is all about a guy called Billy Moore. Now, if you don't know Billy Moore, Billy is a fellow YouTuber, although he's got a couple more subscribers than me. I'll put a link down below to Billy's channel because it is really, if you don't know, it's really well worth checking out. Now, Billy, he's a Scouse fella and he's got that Scouse wit going on, nearly as sharp as your humble narrator. And what he does, he goes round northern, mainly, cities and towns and gets beneath the cracks of the more poorer areas and talks to people who are struggling, the homeless and the addicts, and tries to find out the stories of them, how they got in that situation, how these rough communities work, and stuff like that. There's a lot of people, when you go to these areas, when you start filming, they don't want to be filmed. Basically, they do maybe things they shouldn't do, and it often leads to a lot of confrontation. Now, Billy, he's not one to settle for fools gladly, and will always give a bit of confrontation back if they start on him. Really makes up for magnetic viewing. Like, Billy's got this good way about him, this watchable way about him, and a really interesting channel. I think the All or Nothing with Billy Moore, it's called. Like I say, he's got a few more subscribers, but I'll still give him a shout out. Maybe you could give me one back in your next video, Billy. Anyway, yeah, A Prayer Before Dawn is all about Billy's life. You might have wondered where this was leading. Now, Billy, in his younger days, he had a lot of trouble himself. He had a heroin addiction. He was a boxer, and he lived in Thailand where he'd box and also sell drugs and take drugs himself. Inevitably, if you do stupid things like this, you're going to get caught, you're going to face the punishment, and he got slung inside Thailand's most notorious prison, and got watching this, you wouldn't want to be in this prison. It looks like a hellhole. They haven't got cells. They're sort of all chucked in a room, sleeping on the floor, pretty much on top of each other. There's that many people in the same room. You get so many criminals together in one room. You can see what sort of problems that's going to lead to. A lot of physical abuse, a lot of sexual abuse, and food didn't look up to much. A dirty, horrible place that just looks like anybody's worst nightmare. And probably for Billy, the way he was, probably the what he needed at that time in his life to help pull his life around and to look at himself and to say, what are you doing with your life, kid? You've got to get on with this. And to try and make it through his time in this prison, he joins the boxing club and they end up boxing from other prisons and stuff like that. Yeah, really good look at Billy's life, a brutal film that I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, give it a go. A Prayer Before Dawn, and yeah, good stuff. Billy Moore. And next up from 2019, a rewatch of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Margot Robbie, Margaret Qualley, got them two mixed up, Bruce Dern, Al Pacino, Damian Lewis, amongst a host of others. And yeah, this is alright. It's a rewatch, and the first time I watched it, I thought it was a decent film, but not peak Tarantino, and pretty much same opinion, really. I mean, I gave it a 4-star on Letterboxd, so that's a really good really good score. But, and I'm struggling a bit now, but I'd maybe put it at the lower end of a Tarantino ranking. I think I'd put it 9th. I might run through that on a video if you'd be interested in that. I think it'd be 9th out of 10. But like I say, on Letterboxd I gave it a 4-star, which that's still a great score, isn't it? For me, QT's not done a bad film, but this just ain't of his strongest. I did enjoy the look at making films in the 70s at the time. That era, well, 60s, wasn't it? Late 60s, early 70s. That era is an era that I do like in my films, so that part of it I liked. Didn't mind that he changes history, because I adore that in his other films. For me to shout him out on it now in this one would be not the right thing to do, I feel. It was alright. I don't know, Stuart hates the scene, but my favourite scene is where Brad Pitt Reese boots a piece off. Oh God, I can't bother to change it now. Brad Pitt piece up Bruce Lee. Jesus Christ. It's been a hard week. Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's alright, it's a decent film. And to finish the week off, Adventures of a Private Eye from 1977, directed by Stanley Long, starring Christopher Neal. Now, this is a good cast. Susie Kendall, Harry H. Corbett, Diana Dawes, Liz Fraser, John Pertwee, Doctor Who, Irene Handel, Ian Lavender from Dad's Army, Willie Rushton, who always seemed to have the centre square on Celebrity Squares. If you remember Celebrity Squares, let me know down below. You've got to be old to remember that. Yeah, Adventures of a Private Eye. Now, if you thought that I wasn't too enamoured with Adventures of a Taxi Driver, well, this one made Taxi Driver look like the Taxi Driver of the film, because this was crap. My God. And I know Jordan, Movie Worm, he likes this section. Jordan, this is an official bag of bollocks. What a load of rubbish this was. I criticised Taxi Driver because it seemed to be like a vignette of sketches just thrown together and like no story whatsoever. This one did have a story, but it was boring and bloody awful and just terrible. Yeah, I'm struggling even to remember. It was some sort of murder case or something, but it was that terrible and boring. I was struggling to concentrate that I can barely remember. And I don't know how they managed to get so many good names in there, like John Pertwee and Harry H. Corbett, because they're absolutely wasted in this pile of cinematic excrement. And the Confessions films, they weren't the best, but they had Robin Asquith in now. Robin Asquith, he's sort of this cheeky, chappy type who you quite admire when he's bedding all these different birds, because he does it with a cheeky smile and a wink. But the guy Christopher Neal, who was the leader of this one, he was like, I don't know, he had the charisma of that elastic band. It just like try and break the fourth wall every now and again just by giving a knowing glance like this. Oh, yes, easily. And I've said this a few times on the channel. I think one of the worst films I've ever seen. Like, I can't recommend anybody buying this set because it's totally shocking, and I don't know whether I've got it in my locker to go back in the last one for Plumber's Mate. I probably will just give you guys a laugh. But that's it, guys. That's the weekly watches, and I've made it through. I'm not going. I did have to stop recording a few times and pause that as a struggle to get through. But I got there in the end, and hopefully it wasn't too terrible. So if this is your first time viewing and you're still watching, let me know. Well done, you deserve a medal, and subscribe, because it gets a little tiny bit better than this sometimes. Thanks very much, guys. Give us a thumbs up and all that, and I'll see you at the weekend. Ta-ra.